Good afternoon, I'm Ed Pozzuoli, CEO of Tripp Scott, and with us today is a true honor, the Honorable Jack Tuter, Chief Judge of the 17th Judicial Circuit in and for Broward County. Judge, welcome.
Thank you, Ed. Thank you for inviting me.
Anytime, Judge. Real quick, let's get to it about the post-COVID world and the courthouse. Courthouse operational today?
Well, the courthouse operational remotely. We closed the facilities to the public more or less March 16th. And we've not had anybody in there until this week. The clerk's office asked me to allow them to open, which they did. They still have their tables outside to take care of the public that comes in. But the courthouse has been operating remotely since March. We were up and running pretty quickly. We got some emergency funding from the Supreme Court to buy Zoom licenses, which we all needed. So we have 101 of those licenses here in the 17th. We've conducted in excess of 6,000 Zoom hearings now over the last period of time. Took us a week or so to get up and running, but it was fairly seamless with civil and probate and family. Took a little work with criminal because of the due process concerns and only so many cameras that could be in the jail at one time, right, and first appearance cameras. But we've been able to perform both essential functions that the Supreme Court imposed on us and non-essential. So all the dockets are fairly up to date. Where we are behind, but we're starting to catch up in the next few weeks, is county court civil and county traffic. We've had a lot of those that have backed up, but the judges are now running dockets on those in both the satellites and downtown, and we hope to get those caught up in the next few weeks.
So what's the main challenge now in the post-COVID world, Judge, in operating that courthouse?
Well, right now, for sure, it's determining when we will go back and have face-to-face contact. We had a meeting mid-May to decide what we would do in June with all the stakeholders, the public defender, state attorney, clerk of court. And then we had, we're going to have another meeting on June 17th for July. So the decision is when we will be operating face-to-face hearings, if in the near future, and under what circumstances. Some of our courtrooms in the West Tower are fairly small, right, and you can literally reach out from.
There's not a lot of social distancing there.
No, and if you're talking about jurors, which is the second phase of the difficulty in opening, you've got a lot of responsibility in the courthouse because it's not like opening up a Target or a Publix where Ed and his family may decide to go voluntarily and shop if they want to.
Right.
We don't invite people to the courthouse. We tell them they got to be there.
Right.
And if we're ordering them to be in an environment, whether it's jurors or litigants or lawyers, we need to be safe, have safe environment for them, make sure it's cleansed, make sure we can reduce the face-to-face contact. So right now, being able to do this remotely is the safest way in my judgment.
So let's break it up. On the criminal side, you have due process issues with criminal defendants and first appearance issues and all kinds of issues. Short of the jury trials for a second, how is that being worked on the criminal side?
Well, it's been difficult and challenging because you have not only the due process concerns of the hearing where the defendant has the right to be present, right, at all times. You need a camera in front of that person if he's in custody, and most of these folks are in custody. You also have the concern of the public defender being able to converse, or the private lawyer being able to converse with a person who may be in custody. So you have this issue of whether they can adequately represent someone when they're not in contact with a person. The jail has been on lockdown for the last 30 days. They are still on lockdown as of today. That limits the ability of visitors to go over there. We have a video link over there so we can get people up with a particular person if necessary, but it strained the system because there are 16 or 17 different criminal divisions.
Right.
Most of the people, we let almost 800 people out in various hearings that did not pose a public safety. We reduced the jail population to, I think the lowest was 63%. We've never been below 70% in the last 20 years. So I commend all of our judges who work real hard on those dockets. The lawyers worked real hard late into the evening to give people hearings. So we've reduced that jail population, but now we're faced with people who are in custody, probably on a bond that they can't make, or on a no bond hold that are awaiting trial. And therein comes the problem of getting jurors into the courthouse, having jurors available to try these cases. And so it's just kind of been one phase after another. And the Supreme Court, Justice Kennedy and his work group has instituted guidelines for us to meet before we reach each phase, and the next phase would be to do face-to-face, and we're not there yet. Some other courthouses have opened. They're kind of in an environment where they haven't had the outbreak like we've had in Broward County.
Right.
And so
Outside of South Florida is a little different story.
it is quite different. So we're trying to tread cautiously. When you're in a courtroom, you know, wearing these masks in wherever you may be in the hallways is okay, but you got to talk.
Right.
And I can't even talk to the public's clerk with my mask on. So when you take those masks off, what do? You expel, and that's one of the ways you can contact this disease. So if we open too soon, in my judgment, and we get another outbreak, and I have to start closing courtrooms again, then we're going to be in a real bad situation. Then we're going to be in, well, nobody wants to go back over there again.
So when you say face-to-face, you're not talking jurors now. You're talking about live hearings and first appearances, those kinds of things.
First appearance has all been done via Zoom. I did it actually last Monday on the holiday. I didn't think it was going to be possible to do it, but it actually has been possible to do it. It's a little bit more cumbersome.
Sure.
Because the state attorney, you have to take breaks, obviously, if the state attorney talked to the person because they weren't with them in the jail that morning
Right.
like they normally are. But it actually has worked, and Judge Cawthon, who's one of our younger judges, has just done an outstanding job with it. So when I'm saying courthouse activity face-to-face, I mean no courtrooms are open. And the point will be where and when we decide to open the courtrooms, and in what flavor, so to speak.
So we're meeting constitutional requirements the best way we can under this environment.
Yes, and you know, I've spoken to the Chief Justice as well about things like speedy trials and things like that. There's only so much you can do when it comes to speedy trial when you don't have jurors.
Right.
So I think the Supreme Court is going to be very liberal in imposing guidelines that say, you know, this isn't going to be a gotcha situation where you open back up and immediately demand speedy. You don't have a jury pool, and all of a sudden the person gets to walk because you can't meet the speedy deadline. So I think that will all work its way out. The bar, the private bar on the civil side, the bar on the criminal side. I just met with the criminal defense lawyers on Monday. The state attorney, the public defender, everybody has just been wonderful. They've worked through these problems. They realize there's limitations to what we can do.
Of course.
And I just think everybody it's just been great for me to do this job with everybody cooperating and me not having to make, you know, kind of unilateral decisions that upsets one side or the other.
On the civil side, you don't have the same constitutional issues, but there are hearings going on.
Yep.
And Zoom hearings are going on with the civil cases. The cases are moving. But again, how do you foresee bringing in a jury when that same pool has to be used on the criminal side to meet constitutional requirements?
Well, I think I have been busier in the last 2 months on the civil side because I run the regular complex business division
Right.
than I was the entire year. And I don't know what that is. I don't know whether they're just filling up the times because they got backed up or what it was. And I think when I talk to my colleagues, everybody's the same. Everybody has just been completely booked from basically motion calendar to the end of the day. I'm conducting evidentiary hearings. I'm conducting valuation hearings, which require evidence, of course,
Yep.
on a number of businesses. So I'm doing receivership hearings. Everything I was doing in the courtroom except for a jury trial, I'm still doing. And of course, as you know, in the business world, the lawyers always threaten to go to trial in the business world, but I don't see that too often. So the jury pools have not been an issue, but they will be an issue for the civil lawyers. We're working through trying to see what it would look like to do a mock jury trial in the civil side on a short case, maybe a 2-day business case, a contract case, something where there's not a lot of complications, where a jury could do this remotely, not have to come in the courthouse. So we're kind of playing with ideas on that. But I've told most of the civil lawyers, the reality is if you're wanting a trial for more than 5 days, it's unlikely this year because most of the jurors that do come back will probably be allocated to the due process, people who have been sitting in jail waiting for a trial.
Just by way of constitutional requirement.
Right, and we need to get those people their trial and get them moved out because they're basically sitting there because they can't make the bond or they're held no bond. And that's just the run-of-the-mill criminal case.
Right.
The murder cases are going to be on hold because they require huge jury panels and 12 jurors to decide those cases. So there are things that are definitely going to get pushed into next year, and it's just anybody's guess what the medical climate is at that time.
Let's end on a positive note. Is there a silver lining coming out of this COVID crisis that the courthouse is now far more able to do remote hearings and reduce wait times and allow motions to be heard from a lawyer's office instead of having to travel.
Well, I think most of the lawyers would agree. When I flip on that 10 o'clock hearing, they're all there, they're all ready to go, and their hearing is done within the time allotted. We're not sitting in the hallway wasting time. From that point of view, I think Zoom is here to stay, Zoom or whatever video format we're looking at, because I think it's efficient, it saves the lawyer's clients money.
Yeah.
You can accumulate somebody for a hearing in 10 minutes and basically be on a video no matter where you are in the state. And I'm looking into seeing if we can do a courtroom that would be completely remote. And by that, I mean all of the cameras, all of the moving parts, to do a courtroom, a hearing, a trial, fully integrated remotely in the courtroom, in the courthouse. So I think good has come from this in the sense that we've become a little bit more efficient with this. The lawyers haven't had to dash downtown and look for a parking place. And you can wear pretty much whatever you want to wear while you're having a hearing in front of a judge these days. So
there you go. All right.
Some
Well, let's
good
end on
stuff.
that good note, Judge. I thank you for your time, and of course, thank the bench for all the work that they're doing to dispense justice as kind of under these challenge situations. So thank you.
we will, Ed. Thank you very much for inviting me, and I'll come back and see you again.
Sounds good.